Hello, my name is Andrea. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing how to make 3D flowers using your Cricut and turn it into a beautiful shadow box. So let's get started. To start with, I imported a bunch of different flower SVGs into Cricut Design Space. This is what they look like when you first get them. They're these spirally designs, and I made these smaller ones around 4 inches wide each, or 10 centimeters. And this way I can fit 4 on a sheet of cardstock that is 8.5 by 11 inches. I'm clicking on Make It, and now it's time to cut it out with my Cricut. I'm laying down a piece of white cardstock on my Cricut mat. I'm using the green mat, but you could also use the light blue mat, which is good for cardstock. And now I'm cutting out my flowers. I turned my mat over and I'm getting my swirly flower designs off the mat. I have these reverse tweezers from Cricut, and I'm using these to roll my flowers. So I'm putting the end of the cardstock flower inside of the tweezers, and then I'm twisting around and around and around all around this spiral design until I get to the end of the cardstock. Then I'm sliding the tweezers out and slightly letting go so the flower unravels a bit. Then I'm adding a dot of hot glue to the bottom of the flower and sealing it in place by pressing the end of the flower on top of the glue. Now I'm unfolding these petals a little bit to open up the flower and make it not so tight and a little bit more realistic looking. Here are a couple of the finished flowers. You can see I used a bunch of different swirly flower SVGs, and I'm getting lots of different cool effects and different flowers from these. I cut out some more flower designs with pink cardstock, and I made these ones a little bit bigger, around 5.5 inches wide, so I was only able to fit 2 per sheet of cardstock. These are what the swirly flowers look like when they're first cut out. And I'm using the exact same technique with my reverse tweezers, putting the outer end of the flower inside of the tweezers, then folding over the top a little bit and turning my tweezers around and around until the whole thing is curled up around the tweezers. Once I got to the end, I removed the tweezers, then hot glued the flower in place. Now I'm going around the flower and moving the petals with my fingers so they are going outwards more and not so squished together. I love all the different flower designs you can get just by finding different flower SVGs. I made a bunch more flowers with some red cardstock, the pink and white, and you can see most of them are the bigger size, but I did make a few of those smaller ones, just for some variety and filling in the gaps between the bigger flowers. Here I'm showing you some of my finished flowers so you can see all the different types of flowers you can make using this same method with the Cricut. I'm using this shadow box, which is an 8-inch by 10-inch. I took out the cardboard piece and I'm putting it over top of a light pink piece of cardstock, and I'm tracing around it, then cutting out the cardstock. And I'm using a glue stick to stick this piece of pink paper onto the cardboard backing. And this is going to be the backdrop for the shadow box. I'm arranging all of my flowers onto this pink backing, just so I can get an idea of how many flowers I need, if I need any more, or which ones I want to use. I'm trying to mix up the size and the type of flower and also the color. This part doesn't have to be exact. Like I said, it's just to get an idea of where I'm going and what I want to do with it. Now that I have everything arranged how I think I want it, I'm putting the frame of the shadow box over top just to get an even better idea of the sizing, because I don't want my flowers to overlap on the edges too much because I want to make sure I have room for the frame to go back on. And I'm going to leave that frame right on there while I'm hot gluing all the flowers in place. Here is the finished shadow box backdrop with all of my flowers. Now I'm putting this into the other part of the shadow box frame up against the glass. It's a little tricky to put down the little tabs of the frame since our flowers take up so much space inside of here, but just press them down, then flip it over. I'm wiping down the glass because it's full of fingerprints and dust and everything. I'm going into Cricut Design Space and typing out my phrase, and I'm using the font Hello Honey. I'm going to adjust the size to fit on my shadow box. Then I'm cutting it out with white vinyl. And you can make this say whatever you want, whether it's a name, or it could be Mom for Mother's Day, or a Valentine's themed message, or I've seen people doing birth stats for a baby, all kinds of possibilities. I cut out a phrase with my Cricut using a white vinyl that says peaceful mind, grateful heart. So I'm weeding out these letters, then using transfer tape to stick them on top of the shadow box. I used a cursive font for this, so just make sure if you're doing something like this that you're very careful when peeling up the transfer tape so you don't rip anything. Just go slow and press down on each letter at a time, especially the little embellishments on the ends like after the T and any fine little elements like that. And that's it. This is my completed shadow box filled with lots of beautiful flowers and even a custom message on top. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time.